In this video for lesson 4.3, we're going to do number 4 and number 5 on page 105 in your student journal. In exercises 4 and 5, graph the image of line segment MN after the composition. So compositions, all they are is meaning that we're going to perform more than one transformation on a figure. And so you can see they give us a series of transformations to perform on line segment MN. We always want to make sure we do them in the order that we're given. Sometimes the order doesn't matter, and if you accidentally mix up the order, you still end up with the same shape, but that's not always the case. So we want to make sure we go in the correct order. So in number 4, the first step that we have to take is reflect line segment MN over the x-axis. So I always like to highlight my line of reflection. My x-axis is this line here. So remember, when we do reflections, the vertices of our figure, all they do is flip to the opposite side of the line, and they're the same distance away. They're just on the opposite side of the line of reflection. So if I'm going to reflect point M over the x-axis, M is, remember these graphs count by 2, so just keep that in mind. Point M is 4 units above the x-axis. So after I reflect it, M prime will be 4 units below the x-axis. And I like to put a prime next to my M. I'm going to do the same thing for point N. Point N is 2 units below the x-axis. So after the reflection, point N will be 2 units above the x-axis, N prime. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and connect those. So here's my first image after my first reflection. Line segment M prime, N prime. So now, to perform the composition, I'm going to perform my second transformation. I'm going to take line segment M prime, N prime, and rotate it 180 degrees about the origin. I do my rotations most of the time using patty paper or parchment paper, so that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I'm going to take my patty paper. I'm going to go ahead and draw my plus sign with my arrow pointing up. And I'm just going to worry about rotating my new image M prime, N prime. Okay, so I went ahead and let me zoom in. I copied these vertices onto my patty paper. I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. So remember, when we're done rotating, my arrow should be pointing down. I'm going to rotate this shape 2 quadrants. I'm going to go counterclockwise. There's a rotation of 90 degrees. And here's a rotation of 180. I'm now ready to put down my new points. So M double prime, my final vertex in my image, will be located at +4, +4. I'll do it in a different color here. I'm going to put 2 primes, remember, because I'm showing this is my final image after I've done both transformations. N prime will be at +1, -2, N double prime. I am now going to go ahead and connect those. So my final image is my purple one here, line segment M double prime, N double prime. Number 5, I'm going to take line segment MN. First, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees about the origin, and then I'm going to perform a translation on that second image. So I'm going to get my patty paper. I'm going to erase what I had from the last problem. Okay. I'm going to make my plus sign with my arrow pointing up, and I'm going to copy down point M and point N. Don't forget to label them on the patty paper. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees about the origin. So when I am done rotating counterclockwise, my arrow should be pointing to the left. I'll line it back up. Let's go ahead and rotate. I have just rotated this figure 90 degrees. The arrow is pointing to the left. I'm going to go ahead and copy these new points down. N prime will be located at -1, +3. And M prime will be located at +1, -2. Okay, this is my first image after the first transformation. Now I'm going to take segment M prime, N prime, and translate it according to this rule. So if I look at the rule, it tells me that I'm going to shift this figure 2 units to the right and 3 units down. So I'm going to do that with both N prime and M prime. I'm going to go ahead, M prime, I'm going to move it 2 to the right and 3 down. Just be careful, this graph counts by 2s. So 1, 2 to the right, and then 3 down. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to call this N double prime. I'm going to do the same thing with M prime. I'm going to move it 2 to the right and 3 down. M double prime, and I'm going to go ahead and connect my 2 points. So my new pink segment, M double prime, N double prime, is my final image.